I have this one bit. Can I share this bit? Like, I've been working on this, but you know that song Jack and Diane, where it's like I call this like one wrong note guy. Or that, or like be like, just like, because it's great to see people get riled up and start singing, and then you just choke it. But that's really what I love about guitar. It's like. Because it's like rock and roll to me it's never been about impressing. It's been about just trying to connect with people, right, and have like a moment. And it's like, even if we can laugh at like my stupidity, like that's a cool moment. Like I leave here now like feeling much more excited about playing tonight because like I'm got a little joyful riot going on inside now, and that feels good.
Try to use my brain, but every time I try, my heart gets in the way.
I suppose I tried to like combine Cheap Trick and AC/DC with what is it, from like Punks in a Disco Bar, you know. I thought those little chord fragmenty things I feel like I can handle as a guitarist. Stuff like that. I suppose it's like I don't have a whole lot of like riffs. I'm more of a chord player, but like, you know, I'm writing this little thing. It's like I'm proud of that. That's probably about as riffy as I get. I wish I had a little more Tony Iommi in me, but I just I'm stuck with what I've got, you know. I think that's why I kind of shy away from like being like a riff monger or like a soloist or whatever, because like before I played guitar, my pursuit in life was to be a writer, you know. I just wanted to write books, so words were really my big thing. So when I write songs now, like guitars is sort of just this like really tender fist to sort of accompany what I want to say, because like my voice, my literal voice, like I've always been kind of a wallflower and sort of shy, and I just didn't know how to get heard in all the muck of life, right? And then I saw Townshend play, and I was like, wow, you can just like hit a big loud bar chord on a guitar, and all of a sudden like that little whisper kind of becomes a roar, you know. And I was like, well, maybe that's how I get found out, to make my little ding, you know, in whatever I'm chasing. But I think it's that. I think that you know, I wanted to be a songwriter, not really a guitarist. I just needed something I could strangle to make the words matter a little more. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I usually go Johnny Ramone when I do it, but okay. I do this Chuck Berry. Okay, that's it, yeah. It sounds better with distortion, for sure. I saw kids my age, so it was like a high school play of Tommy by The Who. And I was like, because before that, like, I would just be like, you know, like Ramones songs, and I would sit down and do that. I had some uncles that played guitar, and they taught me, like, they were kind of metalheads, so, you know, I was like, oh, man, I could be, right? And they taught me that kind of stuff, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool, you know, it's a cool little thing maybe to impress my schoolmates, but it didn't like feel right. And then kind of, you know, I saw that high school play, and I was like, this feels like huge, because to me, like bands like The Who and stuff, that feels like otherworldly, where like punk records like fed my soul, right? And I was like, man, I can play those things. And then but then when I saw kids like my age playing, like, I mean, you know, I thought Townshend like invented rock and roll. So it was like to see like a 16-year-old kid like bashing those out, I was like, it introduced me to like possibility. Paul Westerberg's my favorite writer. And like that's sort of where I see the beautiful space like he sort of lives in, is like that sort of spirit of punk rock and that sort of like snotty, you know, plug in, turn up and go, which I love. But then he just evolved how he wrote so much, like with chord voicings and all those things, and I was kind of like, oh, that's where it is. That's where sort of like that primal Ramones thing sort of met like that sort of evolved like, you know, like a diminished chord versus like a. I think that gave me a place where I could sort of have that sort of adolescent angst, but give me a whole lot of room to sort of grow into trying to be better at this thing that I try to do.
Sat in the room and laughed out loud. Suddenly the laughter died. We were caught in an eye to eye. Sat on the floor and did we sit close? I could smell your thoughts and thought, do you want to touch a lot like me?
Yeah. From Blake, it's really more, you know, and I've spoke about this, it's the way poetry, real poetry, could be accompanied by really raw, loud, just dirty, unapologetic guitars, you know. You would hear flowery language in music, you know, but it wasn't like, it didn't sort of carve itself into your bones, you know. And when I first read his lyrics, like I was like, well, this could just be a book. Like it doesn't really need accompaniment. And there was something really great about that. That stuff spoke to me. You know, with like Westerberg, I think with him it's sort of the opposite of maybe the lyric approach, although he drops, you know, easily some of my favorite lines lyrically, but I know lyrics for him are more of a vehicle than like a focus, right? He just as a complete songwriter to me is sort of, I don't know, the weirdo thing I'm chasing, you know. I've always said to myself, like when this band started, I wanted to write, I wanted to play in the spirit of the Mats and sing in the spirit of Richard Butler from Psychedelic Furs, you know? Like I felt like if I could be, I mean, I wanted to be Marvin Gaye, but I don't have the pipes, so I was like, well, I kind of have that little raspy, you know, there's an army on the dance. I could kind of do that, and that's like Blake's kind of in that world too, I suppose, where it's like, so yeah, I was just lucky enough, I think to choose the right heroes, you know, and I say lucky with like capital L, you know, because I don't know, sometimes it takes a long time to find that. They've guided me well, you know. Romanticize the real tough parts. You're gonna write 1,000 terrible songs. So, you know, the whole cliche thing about learning a lot more from like getting decked than like winning a race, right? It's kind of like, I think that's what writing's about, but I think people sort of give up because you expect this like, well, I'm gonna cut this song, I'm gonna put it on Bandcamp, and I'm gonna like take my iPhone and put a video up on YouTube, and like in 3 days I'll be on a bus and I'll be famous. And it's like, and maybe that happens. I suppose that would be kind of all right if it does, but there's something really cool about getting filed down and learning how to be a writer, like learning how bad you want this thing that you love. You know, you travel around and like, you know, a van you're sort of duct taping together and like crashing at friends' houses and stuff. That's like, that's rock and roll asking you, and rock and roll deserves this of you, man. You know, it asks you like, how bad do you want this? And it's like, I think for the kids who push through that stuff, like they want it, and that's who we need. Rock and roll is a very holy thing to me. It's all I've really had. I wasn't, you know, like I said, I was pretty wallflower. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. My childhood was pretty crummy, and then records really kind of kept me together. So I suppose I try to protect it. You know, I'm certainly sincere about it. But I think it's that. I think it's like fall in love with the struggle of it, because then like one day it sort of opens up and like you write the best song you ever wrote, or like you get asked to go on a tour, or like some kid writes you a letter and it's like, this kept me together after my dad died, right? It's kind of like, and then all those nights where it was all those songs you threw away, or like you wanted to give up, or like throw your guitar out the window, it's like all of a sudden it's like whoosh, and you just feel whole. I think if it comes too quick, you just don't have a depth of appreciation that you have after banging around it for a while. So love that part. I refer to it as the trash period, you know, because you just write a whole bunch of garbage. But yeah, but it makes you who you are, and it makes you know you want it, you know, something cool about that.